Veppy? De bishi panoisa moikiform, huh? Spo biff, yada boo. Yikla o dreep. Lo yam.
Hey guys, it's Haley from The Modern Ferret, and today we are going to be building our backyard ferret enclosure in Sims 4 and basically building out how we picture this ferret enclosure. So without further ado, Albert and I are going to get started. All right, let's take a look. First, it is time to build a character of myself. So let's do this. All right, this looks just like me with the pink hair and all the eyeshadow and the lipstick. Here we go. You know what? To be honest, that actually feels really good. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that's good. My ears are kind of like, yeah. Good, Channing. Good. I think Channing did a really good job with this. Yes, very accurate. That actually is how I wear my hair. So truth be told, this does look like me. And there I am. I think I actually have that top in real life. Look at me looking confident. Looks fantastic. I wish I wore my hair like that. It looks absolutely beautiful. If I had more time in the day, I would, but I wear it like this in a ponytail. Alrighty, so now it is time to find a property that I am going to demolish. Okay. All right, this is the area I'm going to demolish. Years of history and architecture, and we are bulldozing the lot. Let's do this. Alrighty. Starting fresh, and it is time to literally base this off of the precise measurements that Channing did. He went outside and painstakingly measured the perimeter of our house, our detached garage, and the lot that all of it sits on. So this looks maybe like guesswork to you guys, but this is about as accurate as somebody as patient as Channing could be with it. And right now he is doing the topography of the yard. We basically have 3 different tiers in our yard. We have the highest tier in the back, and then a secondary tier, which I'll show you guys in a second. And then the 3rd tier next to the back of our house is the lowest. So unfortunately, water drains from the top of the property towards our house, but we got it graded, no big deal. And that's kind of what's going on here. I guess you're just gonna listen while I form the earth. I could play this all day. And I don't even know if it's because of the fun building stuff or just because of the music, because the music's really good too. I feel inspired. Like, I feel like I can do anything if I hear the Sims soundtrack in the background. So now I'm like the embodiment of Channing, and you can see how smelly he is, which is accurate to real life. Just so you guys know, if you ever plan on building anything accurate to scale, like you want to mock up your apartment or your house or blah, 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 blah. In Sims, one of their grids is around equal to a yard or 3 feet. So if you end up measuring a literal physical space, kind of think of it that way. And now basically I'm just putting in the retaining wall that we literally have in our backyard in the 2 back tiers. What's cool is that if I get a chance to show you our literal backyard while I'm doing this, this is pretty much what it looks like, almost identical to what I'm making in Sims right here. This part that I'm doing right now is I have this vision for the backyard where I want to do this curving, ebbing and flowing pathway. Sort of like, I'm still kind of making it right now, but I want it to be kind of like a figure 8 shape, so that when you go into the garden, you can turn left or you can turn right. And even after that, you can choose a secondary path, so that there's so many different ways that you can go. There's not one way straight through the garden and that's it. Because I want there to be all these zones that you can stop at, like the zone between the 2 trees, the zone in the middle of the yard, the zone to the left, to the right, where I have different plants I put there for the ferrets. There's maybe like a log for them to explore in, or a different tube system for them to see, maybe like little bridges that they can go through. I want to add as much interest as possible in a small amount of space. All right, I don't know if I'd mentioned it yet, but in Sims I'm pregnant. I don't know what happened. I'm not pregnant in real life, not really the plan right now, but something happened in Sims, and here I am I think about 8 months pregnant. So that if you guys need an explanation for what is going on. And so that is literally what the inside of our house looks like. Like if you guys came over to my house, you would be like, am I inside Sims 4? Because this is identical. Channing's playing video games. What do you know? Not surprised. There he is, grumbling as he cleans the bathroom. Good. Okay, how does a toilet get so dirty it starts spewing water? That doesn't seem very accurate. And how did the toast end up on the floor? That has never made sense to me in Sims. These are futuristic cubes because you need to be creative in Sims. You will not always find what you need in Sims. They're kind of limited in their inventory if you don't use mods. So we had to use these futuristic cubes to represent the AC units we literally have in the back of our house. So that's what that is. And here is the rough bare bones version of our backyard. It literally looks like that. Like I've shown you guys videos before. It's like overgrown weeds and dirt patches and just no rhyme or reason what's going on, which is literally what it looks like in The Sims 4 right now. We had not yet decided at this point if we wanted to make the ferret enclosure just the back tier, which is what I'm showing you guys right now, just this last third of the yard, because I think I talked to Channing about using the middle tier for vegetable beds because I really want to grow vegetables in the backyard. And I didn't know if that'd be weird for the ferrets being in that same space. So the first iteration of this garden shows the gate being back on that first tier. But after we mocked it up in Sims, it kind of seemed like a waste of space for this middle zone that I feel like we're not even going to utilize. So then said goodbye to that. And ultimately what I want to go with is building the gate so that it utilizes both tiers of the garden, both the top tier and the middle tier, because I want to expand the space that the ferrets have access to. So this is what the ferret enclosure space will look like. So notice that the fence is on the lower of the two tiers. So that's like a pretty large space that we're going to occupy, right? And then ultimately what we decided is I wanted a gate on the side next to the garage, which is that one right there. And then I'd also want a gate in the middle front area. So we have two options. And that way, if we're moving mulch in there or if we're transporting dirt and stuff like that, we have two different access areas that we can use. Okay, so now was the really fun part, which was putting the plants together that the landscape designer came up with. Now keep in mind, Sims is not gonna have the same plant species that she wants. So what I did is abandon looking up plant species when I was inside Sims, and I just went off of site and said, this one looks kind of like this plant that she had in mind. And then in Sims, you can grow up the size of things or shrink the size of things. So that's pretty much what I did with this design. What's really nice is she knew that that figure 8 walkway was really important to me. So she kept that while she put up the other plants. And then also I told her that at this point we had acquired a couple logs that we really wanted to put in the ferret enclosure for the ferrets to explore in and ultimately like curl up and go to sleep in. So she was able to incorporate those into the design that you'll see here. And then that's kind of what I try to do here with the design. So at this point, I was interested in doing garden beds inside the ferret enclosure, but then I thought about it a little bit longer and we ended up getting rid of those. Oh, okay, so this is probably Channing's favorite part of the enclosure, and I agree. We ended up wanting to hang a hammock between the two trees, and that has been like the coolest thing ever. So at this point, the thinking was to do a stone path, like pavers, because I wanted to have everything surrounding it, either dirt or gravel or even mulch. And so that's kind of this part that I'm doing here is I really wanted to accentuate the pathway. And again, like I talked about with you guys, I wanted the pathway to like ebb and flow and weave everywhere. And so that's the point of these stones is they lead you you can go many different ways in this ferret garden. There's not just one straight path, because I want people to spend as much time here as possible exploring the little zones and nooks and crannies of this area. This looks so close to the design that she gave us. And I feel like a lot of people don't say this, but Sims is obviously not like a technical design tool for designing your house or designing outdoor spaces. But if you guys ever want to mock up an outdoor space like we're doing right now with this weird red mulch that we're not going to go with, use Sims. It is an incredible tool, and I feel like they are totally missing out on the potential of this program, don't underestimate the power of Sims. I think I have posted pictures of what we've done in Sims to try to mock up this ferret park that we're trying to do, and people are like, oh, what landscape software did you use? And I'm like, oh, Sims 4. So don't underestimate its capabilities. Use it as a legitimate design tool because it is very powerful and very easy to use. So in this part, I basically replaced all of the weeds that we had with mulch. And mulch has a lot of good positive sides to it. It helps really suppress weed growth. We can actually get free mulch downtown, so that helps cut down on a budget. It has a lot of positives to it. So that was ultimately why I went this mulch direction. Okay, so now we are going to literally walk through from a first person point of view. I told you how cool Sims is for mocking stuff up, right? We're going to walk through this first iteration based on the design from the landscape designer. Is this not the most peaceful place you've ever seen? Look at this. It's just like, oh, it makes my heart so happy. It's like, I know the birds are just inside the program or whatever, but you hear the birds tweeting, you see butterflies go, why are you sad? I'm trying to do a whole thing. Why are you sad? Wow, I am pregnant. Okay. So apparently in Sims, we have enough money to hire a private chef, and she's cooking for us, but Channing's distracting her by telling her bad jokes. She seems uncomfortable. Yeah, that sounds about right. And he left being, he was confused. Yeah. It's surprising how accurate this program is. So now we are back to the garden, and basically I'm just filling out the plants that the landscaper suggested. I think these are just like the long, they're called blue stem grasses that I'm putting everywhere. She also suggested that I put big patches of thyme, I think, which are those green areas that I'm over right now putting the purple plants in. Oh, this is the hammock that we put there before. Isn't that just like angelic? It's so pretty. And the garden boxes look just beautiful there. Maybe it's just the music in Sims that's making me so all about this, but I think it looks beautiful. So now I want to talk to you guys about the behind the garage area. I don't know if you remember from the previous videos where I was literally walking through this area, but in terms of what I wanted to mock up in Sims, I feel like that's such an underutilized space back there. You can actually tell by the simulated sunlight in Sims that it doesn't get too much sunlight back there. And I really think it could be like a really cool outdoor enclosure for the ferrets. And when I say outdoor enclosure, I mean separate from the ferret park that we're building, but like a completely enclosed space that I could leave the ferrets out there if the weather is pleasant enough, and have enrichment items out there, places for them to dig, tubes, plants, just a place for them to get fresh air and kind of acclimate more to the outdoors. So stay tuned on that, but this is maybe what it could look like as far as Sims go. Okay, now this is the second design that we came up with, and notice the beautiful bistro lights we have, but we'll talk about that later. So I still have the stones up. Look at these beautiful plants. Can you imagine how spectacular this would look, especially given the fact that, oh, there's a chicken. Okay, real fast, sorry. The chickens are supposed to represent ferrets. So when you see chickens, think ferrets. There's like 5 of them, which that's not, you know, we don't have that many ferrets, but you know, someday we have enough room clearly. But yeah, chickens, ferrets, there we go. So the plants I'm putting in the ground right now are called Emerald Blue Creeping Phlox. I noticed they sell out really quick, so I'm hoping I can get some this year to plant them so you guys can see them in real life, but they're really beautiful. That yucca aloe vera spiky looking plant, I don't think that's actually part of the design, but it's a nice little extra. And I'm literally just putting grass everywhere at this point because, you know, I kind of want to see what it looks like as like this overgrown, beautiful, forgotten, like hiking area, like sacred, beautiful place. Now this area I noticed literally in our backyard, honestly, like the sunlight kind of simulates in Sims 4. I don't actually get a lot of sunlight over there, so it's important that we plant plants that don't require too much sunlight because it's often very shady over there. I have a tree over there. Let me see if I can remember which one. Okay, so the white tree that you guys see there is called a Regent Serviceberry tree. And right now I'm still putting in grass, but the serviceberry tree, I think it's gonna get like 5 feet tall if we end up planting it there. And there's berries on it that attracts wild birds and different little woodland creatures. So I think that'll be really cool. And those ones are the gold-tide forsythia. I think those yellow ones in the middle, they bloom some random time throughout the year. I have to look it up again, but I told the landscape designer I want a lot of colors. I want easy to maintain plants. I want 4-season interest, which basically means in a place like Nebraska where we live, I really want the garden to look beautiful for different reasons for each season. I don't want it to become barren in the winter where everything loses its leaves, shrivels, and dies. So that's why I actually had her incorporate a lot of big native prairie grasses, ones that grow like 5 feet tall, because in the winter they die, but they still hold their form. So they're like these golden hay colored things. And then on this other grass called blue stem that I'm gonna have planted there too, turns into this beautiful copper color in the winter. So although everything is dead in the winter, it still has this beauty to it, snow covered and all that kind of stuff. So that was a big focus of why I chose which plants I ultimately went through with. Words. So this is ultimately what the grass overgrown one looked like, but it's too much. It's just too much going on, at least right now, this phase of our life. So ultimately I went back to the one that utilized mulch everywhere, and that's the one that I think we're gonna stick with. And then another thing is Channing and I actually acquired a bunch of free broken up pieces of concrete steps because I thought I could use those as stepping stones. But when we tried to mock up parts of it outside with these stones, it didn't look good. I don't know, it's too crowded, it's too many things. So I think what we're gonna go with instead is just the full-on mulch. You just walk on the mulch with your bare feet and whatever. And it just looks a little bit less crowded. And I think without the steps, it allows the plants themselves to be kind of the focal point instead of these really visually loud stones. So we'll see how it actually looks in real life. Okay. This part is really cool. It's something that I didn't even know existed before we spoke to the landscape designer. Right now I'm showing you guys something called a rain garden. And a rain garden is basically a concept where in certain counties and states, they really want you to utilize the rainwater that your property collects. They want you to keep as much of it as possible on your property and not funnel it all to the drainage system. And so what you do is you build something like this called a rain garden, where it will either take the water from a higher area in the yard and kind of hold it in like a dry creek bed looking thing, or like ours also does, it actually will take water from the gutter system of our detached garage, funnel down into this rain garden, and then feed and nurture plants that are okay with large amounts of water over a short amount of time. And what's cool is that to incentivize people to build these rain gardens, sometimes the city will actually give you a grant towards your landscape labor costs and materials if you can prove that you're building a rain garden that will in fact keep water inside your property. So that was a big motivation for this. And I also think it looks really beautiful because it's like this swaying river that now goes through our little ferret enclosure. So in this part, I am building the bridges that we wanted to put over the creek bed so it's easier to hop over them. I'm just cleaning up the design a little bit. One thing that I want to mention is the landscape designer put this amazing pond in the middle. So basically the front of where you guys see the hammock right now. And in the future, I would love to put a pond in. I just think that idea was so beautiful, but it's totally beyond our capabilities and our budget right now, so it's not gonna happen. So instead I asked her, what can I put there in its place? And she said I can put some tall grasses there instead. And in the meantime, I think that's a really good looking substitute. So maybe cross your fingers, in the future we can do some epic pond that the ferrets can drink from and splash around it, maybe have some fish in there. But for now, we're gonna skip the pond and just put a couple rocks there and some tall, beautiful prairie grasses. Na 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 na. Oh, there's the ferrets represented as chickens. Okay, so now hi Channing, I am ready to show you guys the final design that is based off of what we are literally going to build in our literal physical backyard. So let's take a look. Going through the beautiful wooden gate. Oh, look at those bridges and the stairs. Look at these beautiful plants. Now we're gonna have more plants growing back there, but this is a perfect, oh, there's the ferrets represented as chickens. You guys see them? You see them? Okay, isn't that just beautiful, guys? What a breathtaking place in that hammock. Oh my gosh, my heart. Look at it. Oh, and the red, that's the Arctic dogwood, that red plant right there. The stems turn bright red in the winter. It's beautiful with snow on it. But look at this area. I just feel like, oh, there's the chickens. Look, you guys see? See, look at how happy they are being ferrets and not chickens. It's just it's going to be a breathtaking place. Oh, and apparently I can walk through walls. I don't know. I cannot wait to show you guys what it will look like in real life, because it's going to be spectacular. It's going to be a place where we bring ferret owners to share in ferrets and celebrate them and watch them scamper around in their natural habitat and go under the bridges and through tubes and in logs. And if you guys can see in the back corner, we actually have a table with 4 chairs where Channing and I, even before the enclosure was built, we would eat breakfast and lunch and dinner when we had the opportunity back there. And one of the dream aspects of this place has always been, I want to be able to eat outside, which I love to do, eating in nature, hearing the birds chirping. I want to eat in nature and have a nice meal with Channing and, you know, just connect together. And then have the ferrets running around in nature, playing, exploring, doing all these fun things, and without me having a care in the world that they're going to get lost or hurt. And so by making this ferret enclosure and then having that little breakfast table at the back there, it fulfills like so many of the dreams I've ever had about what a perfect life would look like with ferrets. So this is just the most beautiful embodiment of this place. All right, so guys, that's the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed us creating and mocking up our outdoor ferret enclosure in Sims 4. If you are planning on doing anything cool indoors or outdoors, I really recommend using Sims as a mock-up software. I should say, of course, this is not sponsored. No Sims person would sponsor a ferrets video. But it is a really cool tool, and I feel so lucky that we stumbled across it and thought, hey, I think this might be the perfect way to show in 3D moving around what this backyard is going to look like. So if you guys have any more ideas for our backyard ferret enclosure, please share in the comment section below. Thank you again so much for watching. This is such a fun project, and I love sharing it with you guys. All right, take care. Bye.